Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law. And for today's story, we've got breaking news out of the White House. President Donald Trump has signed an order relating to the declassification of certain information concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So this has been something that a lot of people have wanted for a very long time, and past presidents have talked about doing it, and it looks like it's actually happening. So that's exciting. So it looks like we might begin to learn some more information about some of this stuff. Although it's also possible that some of the records no longer exist or have been destroyed by various administrations in the past. So we don't necessarily know what records exist to be declassified. But, you know, we hopefully at least what's available and hasn't been destroyed, hopefully will come to light. So I don't know this will necessarily answer all questions, but hopefully it will answer some questions. Let's go ahead and read this order and see what it has to say. By the authority vested in me as President of the United States and laws of the United States, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1, Policy and Purpose. More than 50 years after the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the federal government has not released to the public all of its records relating to those events. The families and the American people deserve transparency and the truth. It is in the national interest to finally release all records relating to these assassinations without delay. The President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992 required all records related to the assassination of President Kennedy to be publicly disclosed in full by October 26, 2017, unless the president certifies that continued postponement is made necessary by identifiable harm to the military defense, intelligence operation, law enforcement, or conduct of foreign relations, and the identifiable harm is of such gravity that it outweighs the public interest in disclosure. I previously accepted proposed redactions from executive departments and agencies in 2017 and 2018, but ordered the continued reevaluation of those remaining redactions. In the presidential memorandum of April 26, 2018, I also ordered agencies to re-review each of those redactions over the next 3 years and disclose information that no longer warrants continued withholding under the standards set forth in the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act. President Biden issued subsequent certifications with respect to those records in 2021, 2022, and 2023, which gave agencies additional time to review the records and withhold information from public disclosure. I have now determined that continued redaction and withholding of information from records pertinent to the assassination of John F. Kennedy is not consistent with the public interest, and release of these records is long overdue. And although no act of Congress directs the release of information pertaining to the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I've determined that the release of all these records in the federal government's possession pertaining to all these assassinations is also in the public interest. So the president, of course, as I'm sure many of you know, is the original classifying authority and is therefore the ultimate classifying authority and has the power to basically classify and declassify anything, because he's the original classifying authority. And so Congress passed a law that said, declassify this unless you have a reason not to. But Congress passed no law with respect to these other people, but it doesn't take away the president's inherent power to do it anyway, right? So Congress is like, you have to do it for this guy. You can't exercise your power in that way. And then, of course, we could debate that constitutionality, but, that's not really important right now. They say you must release it as to this guy and said nothing with respect to the other guys. So he's like, well, I just have inherent authority, which he does. And so he's going to do it. Great. Reading on. Declassification and disclosure. Within 15 days of this order, which, by the way, that's hella fast. 2 weeks? Shit. The Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General shall, in coordination with the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs and Counsel to the President, prepare a plan to the president for full and complete release of records relating to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Within 45 days of this order, which also is pretty fucking fast, we're definitely moving pretty quickly, the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General shall, in coordination with the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs and Counsel to the President, review records relating to the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and present a plan for full and complete records. So 15 days for records relating to John F. Kennedy and 45 days relating to records for Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So that's pretty fast that's supposed to be ordered. And so it looks like this is all happening, and that's to present a plan for the complete full release. So it's unclear exactly when it will be released, but it looks like it's all happening very, very soon. So, we would expect to see something on this in the near future. So, and the president is refusing to certify the continued holding of these records. So under the relevant law, so there's also statutory authority there as well. So it's unclear exactly when the public will get these documents, although I would expect to see them in very short order given these timeframes. So we'll see how it all goes. And it's also unclear the degree to which this will resolve any questions. I have a bit of a sneaking suspicion that in the end, the records that are released are going to be a nothing burger. I have a sneaking suspicion they're not going to satisfy anybody. But we'll see. Maybe there will be something dramatic in there. So really, that's all there is to say about that for now. Yeah. So I guess that's really all there is to say for now. I mean, what we do know about the U.S. government's involvement in these affairs is already kind of pretty sketchy, to be honest. In particular, with respect to Dr. Martin Luther King. Some of the stuff the federal government did with respect to King is pretty distasteful. So, someone will try to stop the release in the courts? Probably. Although it would be hard for someone to release it and stop its release in the courts because that person would have to show standing, which would have to show that they have a personal interest in it. So it would be difficult for someone to object to this, and also their governmental records. And so it would, what are you going to try to do, to invoke like the Privacy Act because it in fact affects you personally? But then you're basically admitting to the fact that you're in the record. So I think it would be very, very difficult for someone to sue or sue successfully. But, we'll see. Oh, yes, there is also a crypto EO. I wasn't really going to cover that, but since we're done, we can briefly cover. There's one also on removing barriers relating to artificial intelligence that was signed. I assume that's more in line with what we already saw with regards to Stargate. I'm excited to know that we have a Stargate program. That's exciting. A lot of people have been calling for a Stargate reboot. I didn't know this is exactly what they had in mind, but hey, this is fine. So this one on crypto. Yeah, so this one is the one on crypto. Do you guys want to talk about this now? This one on crypto? It's fairly lengthy. Let's see if I can get the summary of it. Reading. There's established a working group, and then we appoint a whole bunch of people to the working group. The chair can appoint some other people to the working group. Within 30 days, the group shall identify regulation, guidance, and orders that affect digital asset sector with respect to crypto. Each agency shall submit to the chair recommendations for regulation, guidance, documents, or orders. Within 180 days, the working group shall submit a report to the president, which shall recommend regulatory and legislative proposals. The working group shall propose regulatory framework, shall evaluate creation and maintenance of digital asset stockpile from potentially derived cryptocurrencies. Chair shall designate executive director for working on its day-to-day activities. The working group shall hold public hearings. Agencies are prohibited from undertaking any action to establish a central bank digital currency. That's interesting. So the Fed can't. Agencies can't. They can't undertake central bank digital currency. Any ongoing plan relating to central bank digital currency shall be terminated. I'm not sure he necessarily can give an order to the Federal Reserve. I guess we're going to find out. So that's all there is on crypto. Mostly it's just create a working group and create for me regulations that we need to do to make this better. So it's more aspirational at this time than substantive, but that's okay. Is that the last order from Monday? These orders from today. These were signed today. These were signed about 30 minutes ago. Yeah, the president signed a couple EOs today. And then there's one on artificial intelligence. Let me skim this one. Within 180 days, some people that are designated shall develop a plan to achieve policy for relating to AI, immediately review with heads, any applicable law, suspend, revise, or rescind actions, propose suspending, revising, rescinding actions to make AI better, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. So basically, in both respect to AI and respect to crypto, he basically said to some people, figure out what barriers there are in place and get back to me and tell me what we need to do to stop those barriers from being in place. Which, fair enough. No Fed coin? Apparently not yet. Can we tell if the files will be redacted or not? I can't answer that question. They might have to be redacted in a way that's consistent with other acts. Privacy Act, for example, comes to mind as being the most applicable to the extent it identifies particular people. So it might have redactions with respect to particular people that are still living. Will there be any redactions beyond that? I don't know. I don't think so, but I couldn't swear for that, so I don't know. Oh yes, the pro-life people. Some pro-life people got pardoned today. That's true. So the president signed some pardons. I don't know if those pardons are available right now, but he signed some pardons today with respect to 25 people that had been prosecuted relating to, I think vaguely they were relating to like blocking access to abortion centers. I don't know the exact details, but he pardoned some people, but I don't think that pardon is available yet. I don't think that pardon is available right now. So yeah, it doesn't look like the pardon that he signed today is on the website yet. Oh well. Yeah, but he pardoned like 23 people who had been prosecuted for like blocking access to abortion center or something like that. He didn't include the Epstein files. Fair point. Yeah, I'd love to see those Epstein files. Yeah, I would love to get access to that. I'm definitely he didn't just kill himself team. I'm definitely on team. Yeah, he didn't just kill himself. There's more to it than that. At best, the U.S. government engaged in a conspiracy to facilitate his suicide and looked the other way while he was doing it. At worst, he's still alive and his death has been faked. But I'm definitely on this occasion. Like, I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I do not believe that he just killed himself. It just is so implausible. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. It's like we've been through this before, right? We've discussed this, right? He was held at a facility, Metropolitan. He was held at MDC. MDC has not had a suicide in something like 25 years. Okay, so like they hadn't had a suicide in 25 years before Epstein. Epstein had already had a suicide attempt in his cell. There was a suicide attempt. That suicide attempt was caught on film. There was an order to preserve that film. The film was destroyed anyway. So even after they had knowledge of his suicide attempt, they then put him back into a cell. The cameras just so happened to not be working because that one wasn't recorded. The first one was recorded. The tape was deleted. The second one, the cameras failed. The guards just happened to not be at their post. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a lot of things. I don't know, man. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. So it's like the simplest explanation is that they encouraged, facilitated, and turned a blind eye. The simplest explanation is they created the conditions to encourage and allow him to kill himself. The next most nefarious explanation is that it was that they killed him or allowed a foreign entity to kill him. And the next most nefarious explanation is he's still alive somewhere. And I'm not beyond that possibility that he's still alive somewhere. I am not beyond that possibility. Can Trump change the meaning classifications or add new ones? Sure, I guess so. Yeah, he could add new classifications or change the meaning and classifications. Sure. I mean, it's all just made up. It's all just made up. So he can declassify it well, can he? Yes. But he didn't. He directed the DNI, who we still don't have a DNI, incidentally, but, well, we do because he named somebody in the interim. But no I as of yet when or if there will actually be a nomination hearing for Tulsi Gabbard. So last I heard, and it's been a while, there was a paperwork holdup for Tulsi Gabbard. So unclear if we're going to get a sworn DNI anytime in the near future. So, yeah. Tulsi is Thursday? Really? Did they schedule a hearing? Wait, today's Thursday. You mean next Thursday? Yeah, January 30th. You're right. So 7 days from today. Oh, we're definitely watching that one live. We're definitely 100% watching that one live. 100%. I'm excited to watch that one. I think it could be fun and exciting. We are 100% watching the Tulsi Gabbard confirmation hearings. Like, I haven't been doing all the confirmation hearings. I did one, I've done a little bit of it, but I think we're going to watch the whole thing. I think we'll watch the entirety of Tulsi Gabbard. So strap in, baby. Next Thursday, January 30th. We're going to watch this thing. It could be glorious. It could be glorious. Is the DC mayor preventing some of the J6 prisoners from being released? Not to the best of my knowledge. No. Not to the best of my knowledge. It's the whole thing with the prisoners. Okay, right? Because there's two categories of prisoners, like we sort of discussed right before. So with respect to J6, there's two categories of prisoners. There's the people that were pardoned and commuted. That's one category. And then there's the people that have to have their cases dropped, which is the second category. And it's not clear that with respect to the second category, all those cases have necessarily been dropped or all those have been processed yet. And that would necessarily take a little bit of time. It wouldn't necessarily take a lot of time, but it would take a little bit of time. So I expected those to all be processed by the end of the week, but it was never going to be instantaneous. So I don't know. So for 1,500 people should have been let out of jail essentially immediately. And then 450 would be let out of jail on a slightly more delayed basis because it takes a little bit of time to actually enter those dismissals and get the judge to actually enter the dismissal. It takes a little bit of time. But that's just the way that Trump wrote it. So it is what it is. What time? It's going to be all day. The hearing is going to be all day. It starts at 9 in the morning or some bullshit. I'm actually going to have to get up for it. But it's going to be an all-day thing. on the 30th. Yeah, it probably starts at like 9 in the morning or some bullshit. So, but yeah, it's going to be all day. So don't worry about what time. What time? Yes. Yeah, it's going to be all day on the 30th. Yeah, nothing happens immediately in jail. And it does take a little bit of time. And, you know, the jail only has to like proceed at like its normal rate. And let 1,500 people out of jail takes a minute. You know, it does take a minute because you have to process those people and you actually have to, it takes a minute. And sometimes people can be held for a fair amount of time, even in a normal case. Like even in a normal case where like a person's found not guilty, sometimes it can take a little while for them to walk out of prison. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it is what it is. Right? So it's like it can take a couple days sometimes, depending on circumstance, even in a case where a person's found not guilty for them to walk out of jail. So it is what it is. Not saying it's good. It just is what it is. Four years without seeing a judge for PCC. We've never found a case like that. We've never found a judge. We've never found a case like that where a person was not given PCC. We've never found a case where a person didn't waive their we've never found a case like that. People have said that before, but we've never found it. We've never found a case where like someone's been held but has been insisting on speedy trial. We've never found a case where they've been denied a hearing on bail. We've never found a case where they've been denied a hearing on probable cause. We've never found that case. I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I haven't found it. So if you know of a case for a January 6er where they were denied a probable cause hearing that they requested because it can be waived, if they were denied a bail hearing, if they were denied speedy trial that they insisted on, then, you know, we could get into it, but we haven't found those cases. Was the second C? I'm not sure. I just assumed that meant probable cause hearing. I assumed PC meant probable cause. I didn't really think about what the second C meant. I just translated it into what I thought they meant. So I'm not sure what PCC means. Yeah, I'm not sure what PCC means. I assumed it was a typo. And I moved on. Probable cause conference? There you go. Sure, why not? What else? Yeah. I don't know if there's any January 6ers who are still being held. Oh, well, it's not completely true because at least in one case there's some other charges, but that's because there are other charges relating to other things they did, not related to January 6th. So at least in one case I know of, I don't know if they were never released or if they were just rearrested, but that's because they're pending charges and other things unrelated to January 6th. So there's at least one that's still in prison. Is the JFK, RFK, MLK EO available to review? Yeah, I reviewed it already. We already did it. It's on the White House page, whitehouse.gov, if you want to read it yourself. J6ers are still in DC? It's possible. I don't know the truth of that. I mean, they were signed. The pardons were signed almost 3 days ago now. Although, with respect to the 450 that have to be processed, then some of them may not have been processed yet. So it's possible that some of those that had their case dismissed might still be in jail. That might be possible. Thoughts on the Washington injunction against birthright citizenship? Not surprised. Not surprised. I mean, we all knew that it was going to be challenged, and I don't know how it's going to pan out in the end. All right, we were reviewing that case Van Ark case, or we were reviewing that. We're reviewing the closest Supreme Court case we could find on point, dealing with the children of permanent residents. And there's some language in there. There's some language in there that could potentially allow this EO to go into effect, but it's unlikely. I think. I don't know how it's going to pan out in the end. I honestly don't know. It's a little bit hard to imagine. It's a little bit hard to imagine that the Supreme Court would really say that these people are not citizens, because that's a lot of people that you're potentially like removing citizenship for. It could be a long list, plus potentially their children, depending on how far back we're going. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen in the end. It's going to be a shit show. It's what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure. Timeline since this emergency injunction, I'm quite confident the Supreme Court's not going to deal with it on an emergency basis. I feel reasonably confident betting the Supreme Court is not going to do with anything on an emergency basis. So the injunction will be appealed and the injunction will stay in place. I'm pretty confident. So the injunction will remain in place while it's working its way through the system. Wasn't George Washington a British citizen? Well, they all were. I mean, you know, but then they became American citizens at the moment America became America. So that they became birthright citizens by the virtue of by America being born, which is the unusual way of doing it. But, you know, hey, what can you do? Not retroactive? Okay. Duh-huh. All right. I didn't say this explicitly, so I won't chide you too hard. Okay. You're correct. The EO itself says it's not retroactive. But it doesn't matter. Okay? Or it might not matter, more to the point. So, Daha is correct that the Trump EO attempts to solve this nightmare by saying it's not retroactive. The problem is that people are either citizens or not because of the Constitution. So Trump can't make it not retroactive, because the whole point is that the whole argument, right, is that they're not citizens under the Constitution, right? That's the whole argument. The 14th Amendment does not grant them citizenship. All right? That's the whole argument. But if that's true, it's always been true, because the 14th Amendment has been the 14th Amendment the whole time. So if it's true, it's been true for 150 years. So it would almost necessarily be retroactive because, well, they weren't citizens. They never were. Right? So that's what I was thinking when I'm like, oh, this could be potentially like impact a lot of people and strip their citizenship. It's like, because if it's based on the Constitution, then they never were citizens. And so, you know, poof. Yeah. So I was thinking ahead. I was thinking ahead. I was thinking like 3 steps ahead. Sorry. Then none of us are citizens? No, not none of us. Just not the people. No. Just the people that were born to people that were not here illegally would not be citizens. Right? Because we're talking about the proper interpretation of the 14th Amendment, right? So we're talking about what does the 14th Amendment mean? And whatever it means, it always meant that. Because, well, it's constitutional language. I mean, the amendment itself wasn't changed, right? So it always meant that. So it would almost necessarily have retroactive effect. Am I expecting a level of consistency law doesn't really provide? Sometimes practicality trumps consistency. Yeah, sometimes, but it's a reasonable concern. It's a reasonable concern, right? So in the end, maybe the Supreme Court will find some clever solution to this conundrum. But I'm like, well, I see a problem. I see a problem. I can see the precipice in the distance. And, there's a lot of time between now and then for a lot of things to happen between now and then. But, I see a problem. I see a problem. The 14th Amendment does not have ambiguous language. It was clearly written. That might be the stupidest thing this chat has ever said. That might be one of the stupider things that I've heard in this chat for a while. You think the 14th Amendment was clearly written? More to the point, you think any provision of the Constitution is clearly written? What do you think the courts are doing, man, every day? Right? It's like you don't think there's... It's like, what do you think we're doing here, man? Are you aware that there's a Supreme Court? Are you aware that they hear 100 cases every single year? Are you aware that there are bookshelves trying to clarify exactly what the Constitution says? The 14th Amendment is clear. Holy shit, dude. Get fucked. Get fucked. Yeah, Lord. The only clearly written one is the 19th? Lol. They're all ambiguous. That's what lawyers do with their time. That's what we do with our time. We try to figure out how things are ambiguous or how things can be re-understood. There is no end. There is no end. Do you use Bruin outside the Second Amendment analysis? In so much as I would say that history and tradition is the correct way to interpret the Constitution, then I would agree with that. So I think that the right way to interpret, for example, the First Amendment is by use of history and tradition. I've said that on more than one occasion. And I think that would be true for pretty much any amendment. I can't imagine how it would not be true for an amendment. So history and tradition being and original intent being the cornerstone, I think is correct. Going to have to tune you out for that one, Kurt. Brandon, you're more than free to leave this channel anytime you want, man. If you think you're going to agree with me 100% of the time, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just trying to, I don't even agree with myself 100% of the time. Things are complicated. Third Amendment's becoming relevant again. Yeah, I got some troops quartered in my house as we speak. The U.S. military has taken over my bathroom. What can you do? Do I really want to know what judges are doing? I can't put it in this chat. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I understand. Understood. I'm thinking about going out for dinner tonight. I'm thinking Torchy's tacos. Torchy's is good. I haven't had Torchy's in a while. I'm thinking Torchy's. Tacos are good, man. Torchy's Tacos does well. I think I'm going to go out and get some dinner. You had Torchy's for lunch? See, this is what I'm saying, man. This is what I'm saying. It's good stuff. All right, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. I've had fun. You've had fun. Everyone's had fun. And we'll go. We'll see what we can do. I've been Uncivil Law. Till later, my friends. I hope all's well for now. Cheers, my friends, for now. And goodbye.